The thing about being boarded by pirates is that it's incredibly inconvenient. Not terrifying, not life-threatening, just inconvenient. Like getting a flat tire, except the tire is your cargo bay door, and the nail is a plasma cutter wielded by a 7-foot-tall lizard person with an attitude problem. Marcus Webb watched the Razor Claw crew pour into the cargo hold of the mediocre excuse with the kind of resigned annoyance usually reserved for finding out your dentist appointment got moved up. He'd been in the middle of organizing his camping gear. Do you know how long it takes to properly roll a sleeping bag? Ages. And now this. "Surrender, human," bellowed Captain Vrek, who apparently believed that volume compensated for originality. He was a Krylix, all scales and teeth and unnecessary shoulder spikes. His armor looked like it had been designed by someone who thought subtlety was a disease. "You are now property of the Razorclaw clan." Marcus raised his hands slowly, mostly because he was still holding a compression sack. Property seems like a strong word. Can we go with temporary involuntary guest? Vrek's second-in-command, a creature named Gortha, who looked like someone had tried to build a tank out of angry meat, stomped forward. "Silence. You have no rights here, soft skin." "Soft skin, that's new. Usually I get pink flesh or smooth hide. Points for creativity." Marcus set down the compression sack with exaggerated care. "Though technically you've got scales which are just modified skin cells, so we're not that different when you think about it." Gortha's face did something complicated that might have been confusion or rage. With Gortha, it was hard to tell. Intelligence wasn't exactly his flagship feature. "Chain him," Vrek ordered, gesturing with a clawed hand that had probably never seen a manicure in its life. "We'll scan for implants and sell whatever's valuable." 2 crew members, identical twins named Scrix and Scrax, neither of whom had ever met an original thought, slapped electromagnetic shackles on Marcus's wrists. He cooperated fully, which seemed to disappoint them. "You're not going to fight?" Scrix asked, sounding almost offended. "Against 7 armed pirates while I'm holding camping equipment? I'm risk-averse, not suicidal." Marcus tested the shackles. Standard Militech Series 4. Probably stolen from a colony defense depot. "These are nice. Good weight distribution. The Series 3 always pinched." Vrek stepped closer, his breath smelling like something had died in his mouth and started a small civilization. "You're very calm for someone about to be sold into servitude." "Well, I've had a stressful quarter at work, so honestly this is kind of a break." Marcus watched as a crew member rolled over a portable bioscanner, the kind used for checking cargo manifests and identifying species. "Oh good, the scanner. I was wondering when we'd get to this part." The scanner operator, a nervous rodent-like alien named Pip, aimed the device at Marcus. "Running full biological and database cross-reference, Captain." "Probably going to say cargo handler or janitor," Gortha laughed, which sounded like gravel in a blender. "Humans are only good for menial labor." Marcus smiled. "You know, statistically, that's actually untrue. Humans are represented in over 200 professions across the galactic economy. But sure, let's go with menial labor, really supporting that confirmation bias." The scanner beeped, then beeped again, then made a sound that scanners probably shouldn't make, like it was arguing with itself. Pip's eyes went wide. Captain? The scanner's returning something weird." "Weird how?" Vrek leaned over. "It says he's a system architect, clearance level." Pip swallowed. "Omega Black." There was a moment of silence, then Vrek laughed. It wasn't a good laugh. It was the kind of laugh that people do when they're trying to convince themselves something isn't wrong. "The scanner's broken. Humans don't get Omega Black clearance, that's for weapons designers and planetary defense coordinators." Marcus examined his fingernails. "Also for people who design the operating systems that run about 80% of the ships in known space, but hey, what do I know? I'm just standing here in shackles." "Ignore it," Vrek snapped. "The scanner probably picked up some old ID chip. Humans love their bureaucracy." "Actually, it's a biometric profile stored in the Galactic Registry," Marcus said helpfully. "Can't fake those. They're keyed to DNA sequencing and neural patterns. Very secure. I know because I consulted on the security protocols. The password encryption was a nightmare. Gortha kicked a cargo container. The human babbles nonsense. Let's just space him and take his stuff. Can't space me yet. I haven't given you the tour of all the design flaws in your ship's life support system. Marcus gestured around with his shackled hands. For instance, your air recyclers are mounted in high vibration areas. They'll fail in about 6 months. Also, whoever installed your gravity plating put it in backward in this section. You're running at 1.2 Gs instead of 1.0. That's why everyone's always tired on the lower decks. Pip checked a readout panel. He's right about the gravity. How did you know that? Marcus shrugged. Lucky guess. The bridge of the Razor Claw was exactly what you'd expect from a pirate vessel, decorated in a style that could only be described as aggressive compensating. Weapon displays dominated the walls, trophies from raids hung from the ceiling, and the captain's chair looked like it had been stolen from a Kralix emperor, and then covered in more spikes, because the original amount of spikes was apparently insufficient. Vrek shoved Marcus into the center of the bridge, where the crew could form a properly intimidating circle around him. It was very dramatic. Marcus appreciated the effort. Let's try this again, Vrek said, leaning back in his absurd chair. Who are you really? And I want the truth, human, or things will get very unpleasant. Marcus looked around the bridge with the critical eye of someone who'd seen way too many ship interfaces. Before we get to the threats, can I just say, who designed your control layout? Everything's in magenta. Life support, weapons, navigation, all magenta buttons. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Answer the question. Gortha moved closer, trying for menacing. He achieved it, mostly through sheer mass. Marcus Webb, formerly lead architect at Galactic Systems Integration, retired as of 3 months ago. I designed core operating frameworks for commercial and civilian vessels. That good enough? Brek's eyes narrowed. You're claiming you designed ship systems? Not claiming, stating. There's a difference. One implies uncertainty. Marcus nodded toward the main console. That interface you're using? Based on the Helios framework version 4.3. I can tell because of the menu structure and the fact that your status alerts are in the top right instead of bottom left. Version 4.2 had them bottom left, but we moved them after user testing showed a 12% improvement in reaction time. Scrix or Scrax, Marcus couldn't tell them apart, stepped forward. He's lying. No way a human designed our systems. You want proof? Your admin login defaults to a 6-digit numeric code. The factory default is 479153. Most people never change it. Marcus paused. Go ahead. Check. I'll wait. Nobody moved to check, which was as good as confirmation. Lucky guess, Rex said, but his voice had lost some confidence. Sure. Also lucky that I know your environmental controls have a hidden maintenance menu accessed by holding the pressure equalization button for 7 seconds, and that your weapons targeting has a calibration drift issue that makes shots veer 0.3 degrees left after sustained fire, and that if you run your engines above 80% capacity for more than 6 hours, the cooling manifold develops microfractures. Gortha looked at Vrek. Vrek looked at his crew. Everyone looked confused. I still don't believe you, Vrek said, but he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. Gortha, ever the intellectual, decided actions spoke louder than words. He grabbed Marcus by the collar. Maybe we beat the truth out of you, human. Please don't. Marcus sounded genuinely tired. I'm on vacation. I had a whole trip planned. Mountains, terrible freeze-dried food, questionable encounters with local wildlife. This wasn't on the itinerary. Gortha reached over to the security console, probably planning to do something intimidating with the internal scanners. Instead, his massive hand hit about 6 buttons at once. The ship's lights immediately shifted to red. An alarm started blaring. The door to the bridge sealed with a heavy clunk. Lockdown protocol engaged, announced the ship's computer in a pleasant voice. Containment breach detected. Sealing affected areas. Please remain calm and await further instructions. What did you do? Vrek shouted at Gortha. I didn't do anything. I just touched the console. Marcus sighed. You activated the biohazard lockdown sequence. It's the magenta button cluster on the right side. You know, the one right next to the door controls, internal scanning, and about 4 other critical systems. All magenta. Like I said, terrible design choice. The crew scrambled to override the lockdown. None of their usual commands worked. "It's not responding." Pip frantically typed commands into her console. "That's because the lockdown sequence requires medical officer confirmation to cancel," Marcus explained, watching the chaos with the detached interest of someone who'd seen it all before. "You probably don't have a medical officer on staff. Pirates usually don't bother with proper crew certifications." "Fix it," Breck roared. Marcus held up his shackled hands. "I would, but you know, little bit restrained at the moment. Also not technically my problem." Breck grabbed a plasma pistol and pointed it at Marcus. "Make it your problem. You're going to shoot me inside a sealed bridge while the air recycling is in lockdown mode. Bold choice. Corpse smell really lingers in confined spaces." The captain's hand wavered. Then the gravity flickered. Just a small hiccup, enough to make everyone's stomach lurch. "What was that?" Scrix asked. "Probably related to the lockdown protocol," Marcus said conversationally. "The system routes extra power to containment fields during biohazard events. Has to pull from somewhere. Usually takes it from secondary systems, like gravity stabilizers." Another flicker. Pip started floating slightly before the gravity reasserted itself. "Make it stop." Rek lowered his weapon. It wasn't quite a please, but it was close. "Override code is Medical 77 Alpha Containment Cancel, but you'll need to input it within the next 90 seconds or the system assumes the bridge crew is incapacitated and floods the area with sedative gas." The crew exploded into action, typing frantically. "Not working," Gortha hammered on the console. "Did you use the admin login first?" Silence. "You need admin access to cancel an active lockdown. Security feature. I wrote that part myself. Very proud of it." Freck slowly turned to Marcus. "What's the admin login?" Marcus smiled. "Well, now we're negotiating." 60 seconds of frantic typing and increasingly creative threats later, the bridge crew sat around Marcus like students attending a lecture they'd rather skip. The lockdown had been canceled, mostly because Marcus had talked them through the admin access procedure with the patience of someone explaining multiplication tables to particularly slow children. "Let me get this straight," Breck said, his voice dangerously quiet. "You're telling me that you personally designed the operating system my ship runs on, not just your ship?" Marcus leaned against a console, still shackled but somehow making it look casual. "The Helios framework runs on about 70% of civilian vessels, 40% of commercial freighters, and, thanks to the absolutely thriving black market for stolen software, roughly 80% of pirate ships in this sector." Gortha cracked his knuckles. "Lies." "Is it, though? Think about your ship's startup sequence. How long does it take?" 4 minutes, Pip said quietly. 4 minutes and 12 seconds, to be specific. That's because there's a memory check protocol that runs during boot up. I designed it to be comprehensive but slow because the original client wanted maximum stability. There's actually a faster mode, but you need the manufacturer code to enable it. Breck leaned forward. "You expect us to believe that a human, a single human, designed systems used across the entire galaxy?" "Not a single human. I had a team. 37 incredibly talented engineers, most of whom are still mad at me for getting all the credit." Marcus shrugged as much as the shackles allowed. "But the core architecture? The fundamental framework everything else is built on?" "Yeah, that was me. 20 years of my life, countless sleepless nights, and more coffee than should be legal." "Why would anyone let a human design such critical systems?" Scrix asked. "Because humans are actually really good at user interface design and system architecture. We're obsessed with making things intuitive. It's a survival trait from when we had to design tools without the benefit of genetic memory or hive consciousness." Marcus nodded toward the console. "Your species, Kralix, naturally understand spatial hierarchies because of your pack hunting evolution. But put you in front of a menu system, And you're lost because it's abstract. Humans think in abstractions, it's kind of our whole thing. Freck stood up, pacing. Even if this is true, what were you doing on that cargo ship? Going on vacation. I mentioned that. The mediocre excuse was my ride to Proxima Station, where I was going to catch a shuttle down to Vendara 3. Beautiful mountains, aggressive wildlife, no computer systems to maintain. It was going to be perfect. You're retired? Pip seemed genuinely curious. 3 months ago, cashed out my shares in GSI, set up a nice passive income from licensing fees, bought a cabin on a quiet moon, and decided to spend my remaining years not staring at code. Marcus looked wistful. This is literally day 4 of my retirement trip. Gortha grabbed Marcus by the shackles and lifted him slightly off the ground. Gortha was big on physical intimidation, not so big on recognizing when it wasn't working. I don't believe you, Gortha said. Cool. Your disbelief doesn't change reality. Marcus swung slightly. Though I have to say, these shackles are cutting into my wrists. Militech Series 4 has a design flaw in the locking mechanism. Tends to over-tighten. They recalled the whole line 6 years ago, but the recall only applied to legitimate law enforcement. Black market buyers got stuck with the defective batch. Gortha set him down, looking at the shackles suspiciously. Freck held up a hand. Let's say you're telling the truth. Prove it. Do something that only the system architect could do. Marcus brightened. Finally. What do you want? I can show you the Easter eggs I left in the navigation subroutines. Or there's a diagnostic mode that makes the ship talk in rhyming couplets. That one was for a bet. Or, something useful, Freck snapped. Useful is subjective, but okay. Marcus thought for a moment. Your ship's master override code. Every ship built on the Helios framework has one. It's a backdoor for emergency situations, hard-coded into the core system. Can't be changed or removed without completely rebuilding the OS. There's no master override code, Freck said. We'd know. Our technicians would have found it. Your technicians are using stolen documentation from a framework version that's 3 years out of date. The master override was added in version 4.0 as a security requirement from the Galactic Safety Commission. Marcus smiled. I argued against it, told them it was a vulnerability. But regulators don't listen to engineers. What's the code? Freck asked. For this ship specifically? Based on your hull configuration and power signature, you're flying a modified Starhawk-class frigate, which means your code is... Marcus closed his eyes, doing mental math. Victor Hotel 77 Tango, Alpha 9. Pip typed it into her console. Her face went pale. Captain, he just gained full administrative access to every system on the ship. The bridge went very, very quiet. I could have done that at any time since you brought me up here, Marcus said cheerfully. I was just waiting for a dramatic moment. This seemed good. Emergency klaxons started blaring. What did you do? Freck jumped toward the console. Nothing yet. That's just the system notification for when someone gains Omega-level access without proper authorization. It's very loud. I designed it that way to prevent stealth intrusions. Marcus raised his voice over the alarm. Someone should probably turn that off. It'll keep going for 10 minutes otherwise. Gortha moved toward him with clear, violent intent. Before you do something regrettable, Marcus said quickly, you should know that all master override codes come with a dead man's protocol. If my biometric signs stop, the system interprets it as an assassination and automatically broadcasts my location and circumstances to galactic security, along with the complete access logs of every system on your ship, which would be bad for you. Freck held up a hand, stopping Gortha mid-lunge. You're bluffing. Maybe. Want to find out? The klaxons continued to blare. Nobody moved. They were all doing the mental math on exactly how screwed they were, and the answer kept coming up the same. Very. Turn off the alarm, Freck finally said. Please. Marcus appreciated the please. It showed character growth. Can't do it while shackled. Need to input a command sequence on the console. Physical contact required. Security feature. Freck nodded to Gortha, who removed the shackles with the kind of reluctance usually reserved for diffusing explosives. Marcus rubbed his wrists and walked over to the main console, where Pip quickly vacated her seat. "Thank you." He typed a short command. The klaxon stopped, leaving blessed silence. "Much better. Now we can talk like civilized beings. What do you want?" Vrek asked. The fight had gone out of his voice, replaced by the resignation of someone who'd just realized they'd kidnapped a tiger. "Honestly, I want to go camping, but since we're here, let me give you all a demonstration of what a system architect can do. Consider it a free seminar." Marcus's fingers moved across the console. "First, let's address the comfort issues." The air vents suddenly started pumping out a fresh, clean scent. "What is that smell?" Scrick sniffed suspiciously. "Cucumber melon. I designed the environmental systems for luxury cruise liners before the Helios framework. Left some of the profiles in the base code as templates. You're now running in luxury resort mode. The air recyclers will also add a hint of vanilla in about 5 minutes." Gortha sniffed again. "I like vanilla. Everyone likes vanilla, it's science." Marcus pulled up another menu. "Now let's talk about your weapons systems." The tactical display flickered and rebooted. Instead of the usual targeting interface, a friendly animated mascot appeared, a small cartoon ship with a smiling face. "Welcome to Weapons System Operation," the mascot said in a cheerful voice. "This tutorial will take approximately 30 minutes and will teach you everything you need to know about safe and effective weapons use. Please watch carefully as there will be a quiz at the end." "What is this?" Rex stared at the screen. "Mandatory safety tutorial. Required by law for all weapons systems on civilian vessels. Most manufacturers include a skip button. I did too, but it's hidden in a sub-menu that requires admin access to reach." Marcus leaned back. "You're welcome to try finding it, but the tutorial doesn't pause." The mascot began explaining basic weapon safety in excruciating detail. "Make it stop," Rex said through gritted teeth. "Can't? Well, I can, but where's the fun in that?" Marcus opened another system panel. "Let's see what else we can do. Oh, navigation. This should be good." The nav display refreshed. Suddenly, advertisements started appearing alongside the star charts. Bright, colorful ads for human products. "Try the new Starlight Brew coffee," proclaimed one ad, showing a steaming mug floating in space. "The only coffee strong enough for faster than light travel. Visit Earth, home of humanity, mediocre pizza, and questionable life choices," announced another. Pip tried to close the ads. They multiplied. "Easter eggs," Marcus explained, clearly enjoying himself. "I spent 20 years building these systems. You think I didn't hide fun surprises throughout the code? There are at least 300 random triggers scattered across the framework. Nobody's ever found them all." The ship's autopilot suddenly engaged. "New destination set," the computer announced. "Proxima Station. Estimated arrival, 6 hours. "Override that!" Rek lunged for the controls. "Access denied. Autopilot engaged by system administrator." Marcus stretched. "I figured since I'm already late for my vacation, we might as well head toward my original destination. You don't mind, do you?" "This is my ship." Vrek slammed his fist on the console, which accomplished nothing except making him look petulant. "Actually, according to the Galactic Salvage and Acquisition Act, any vessel operating on stolen software is subject to seizure by the original copyright holders, which would be my former employer, Galactic Systems Integration." Marcus pulled up a legal document on the screen. "I helped write that legislation too. Consulting gig during a slow month." Gortha moved toward Marcus again, apparently convinced that violence could somehow solve this situation. Marcus didn't even look up. "Before you try that, you should know the floor plating in your current position is wired to the ship's defensive grid. I can make it mildly electrified. Not dangerous, just very, very annoying." "You wouldn't—" Marcus pressed a button. Gortha yelped and jumped back, small electrical arcs dancing around his feet. "I absolutely would. I designed that feature for prisoner transport ships, but it works great for general-purpose behavior modification." Marcus finally looked at Rek. "Captain, let's be honest with each other. You kidnapped the one person in the galaxy who can turn your ship into a very expensive paperweight with a few keystrokes. Your options are: 1. Kill me and trigger every security protocol I've ever designed, effectively bricking your ship and alerting authorities. 2. Let me go and hope I'm feeling merciful. Or 3. Continue this increasingly embarrassing attempt at intimidation while I make your life progressively more uncomfortable. As if on cue, the ship's speakers began playing music. Smooth jazz. Very loud, smooth jazz. What is that? Scrix covered his ears. Entertainment system test. This is a classic human composition called Elevator Jazz No. 5. I find it soothing. You probably find it maddening. It'll loop for the next hour unless I turn it off. Freck's scales had gone from green to a pale yellow, which Marcus had learned was the Kralix equivalent of someone going very, very pale. What do you want? There we go. The negotiation phase. I like this part. Marcus turned off the jazz, merciful despite himself. Honestly, I want to not be on this ship anymore. I want my camping gear. I want to get to Proxima Station. And I want all of you to seriously reconsider your career choices because piracy is not working out great for you today. And if we agree, then I'll give you a patch that fixes the immediate issues I've caused. The autopilot will disengage when we're close to the station. You can drop me off, give me my stuff, and we never have to see each other again. It sounded reasonable. Too reasonable. Freck knew it was too reasonable. What's the catch? Marcus smiled. It was not a reassuring smile. Oh, you'll find out, but don't worry. It's nothing that'll kill you. Probably. The smooth jazz started playing again, louder than before. Fine, Freck shouted over the music. Fine, we agree. Marcus turned off the jazz. Excellent. Let's draft some terms. They moved to the ship's conference room, which was just a fancy name for a cargo hold with a table in it. Marcus sat on one side, unshackled and relaxed. The entire pirate crew sat across from him, looking like students who'd just realized the final exam was harder than expected. Let's establish some ground rules, Marcus said, pulling up a holographic contract template on the table's display. First, my immediate release and safe passage to Proxima Station. Non-negotiable. Fine, Freck muttered. Second, the return of all my cargo, including my camping gear, my personal effects, and that really expensive sleeping bag I just bought. Do you know how much a self-heating, moisture-wicking, bear-resistant sleeping bag costs? More than this negotiation is worth. Bear-resistant? Pip asked. Vendara 3 has animals that are sort of like bears. 6 legs, crystal teeth, but similar energy. Marcus added items to the contract. Third, you agree not to pursue, harass, or otherwise bother me for the duration of my vacation, which I'm estimating at 6 weeks. Done, Freck said quickly. Fourth, and this is important, you all take a long, hard look at your life choices and maybe consider legitimate employment. Not happening, Gortha grumbled. I said consider, not commit. Give it some thought. The Galactic Employment Network is hiring for all sorts of positions. Good benefits, dental coverage, retirement plans. Marcus shrugged. But that's more of a personal suggestion than a contract requirement. Freck leaned forward. And what do we get out of this arrangement besides you not destroying our ship? A patch that fixes the autopilot, stops the ads, and removes the tutorial mode from your weapon systems. Plus, I'll give you the admin password so you can actually control your own vessel again. What about the dead man's protocol? Marcus's expression went carefully neutral. What about it? If it exists, turning it off would be part of this deal. Oh, it exists. I wasn't bluffing about that. Marcus pulled up a system diagnostic screen showing a complex web of interconnected protocols. See this? That's the dead man's switch, tied directly to my biometric signature. Heart rate, brain activity, galvanic skin response, the works. If any of them flatline, the protocol activates. The crew stared at the screen with the kind of horror usually reserved for particularly large spiders. However, Marcus continued, the protocol has a manual override. I can disable it once I'm safely off this ship and at a secure location, which I'll do. Because despite your questionable career choices, I don't actually want to ruin your lives. How do we know you'll keep your word? Scrix asked. You don't. But consider, if I wanted to destroy you, I could do it right now. I have complete control of your ship. I could vent the atmosphere, lock you in rooms, fly you directly to a galactic security station. The fact that we're negotiating means I'm being nice. This is you being nice? Vreck's voice dripped with sarcasm. You're alive, breathing cucumber-scented air, and learning valuable lessons about kidnapping. Yes, this is me being nice. Marcus typed up the final contract terms. Do we have a deal? Or do I turn the smooth jazz back on? There was a moment of consultation among the crew. Whispered arguments in Kralix which Marcus didn't speak but could guess the general content of. Finally, Rek turned back to him. We have a deal, but I want assurances that you won't. An alarm interrupted him. A different alarm. This one sounded legitimately urgent. Pip checked her wrist console. Captain, we're getting distress signals from the Bloodfang and the Ironclaw. Both ships are reporting critical system failures. What kind of failures? Rek stood up. Life support glitches, navigation errors, weapons offline. They're asking if we're experiencing the same issues. Everyone turned to look at Marcus. Don't look at me. I've been right here the whole time. Marcus held up his hands innocently. Though, now that you mention it, the Dead Man's protocol does have a proximity feature. If it detects threats to my well-being, it can preemptively activate defensive measures across the local network. You said it only activated if you died. Rek's scales were turning yellow again. I said it activates if my biometrics stop. But the full protocol is a bit more complex. It uses a sophisticated threat assessment algorithm that monitors nearby vessels and evaluates potential danger. Marcus tilted his head thoughtfully. 3 pirate ships in close proximity probably registered as a high-threat scenario. The system's just being proactive. More alarms started going off. Pip's console was lighting up like a festival display. 4 more ships reporting issues. No, wait, 7 ships. Captain, half the fleet is calling in. Gortha grabbed Marcus by the shirt. Fix it. I'm trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution here and you're grabbing me? You see how that doesn't help the threat assessment situation? Marcus remained calm despite being lifted off his feet. The more aggressive you get, the more aggressive the protocol gets. It's a feedback loop. Vrek pulled Gortha back. Let him go. Everyone, weapons down. Look peaceful. The crew scrambled to appear non-threatening. It was like watching a group of tigers try to pretend they were house cats. Adorable in its futility. Much better. Marcus straightened his shirt. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to escort me to my shuttle, give me my camping gear, and send me on my way. Once I'm safely at Proxima Station, I'll disable the protocol. Your fleet will return to normal function. Everyone goes home happy. And if we refuse? Vrek asked, though his voice suggested he already knew the answer. Then the protocol escalates. Right now it's just causing annoyances. System reboots, navigation glitches, that sort of thing. Stage 2 involves more serious disruptions. Stage 3 involves... Marcus paused for effect. Actually, let's not talk about Stage 3. I like you all enough to hope we never get there. Another alarm. This one was from the Razor Claw itself. The lights flickered. Was that you? Vrek pointed at Marcus accusingly. No. That was your ship's power grid detecting instability in the local network and going into defensive mode. It's trying to isolate itself from the other affected vessels. Marcus checked the holographic display. Won't work, by the way. The protocol is persistent. It doesn't need network access. It's already in your core systems. Pip looked like she was about to cry. This is a nightmare. This is what happens when you kidnap system architects, Marcus corrected gently. Let it be a learning experience. Vrek slumped into his chair. The fight had completely left him. He looked like someone who'd just realized they'd brought a knife to a gunfight, except the knife was actually a pool noodle, and the gun was a planet-destroying superweapon. Fine, we'll do it your way. Vrek waved a defeated hand. Gortha, prepare the human shuttle, load his cargo. Scrix, Scrax, escort him to the bay. Everyone be on your absolute best behavior." Marcus stood up, brushing off his shirt. "Thank you. This has been educational. Oh, one more thing." The crew tensed. "The patch I promised you? It's not just a fix, it's also a gift. Consider it a parting present from your friendly neighborhood system architect." Marcus's smile was positively cheerful. "But we'll talk about that when I'm safely off the ship." The shuttle bay was a flurry of activity as the pirate crew carefully, almost reverently, loaded Marcus's camping gear into his shuttle. The same crew that had burst into his cargo hold with weapons blazing were now treating his equipment like sacred artifacts. The sleeping bag was carried by 3 people. It was one sleeping bag. Marcus supervised from the shuttle ramp, checking off items on a handheld inventory list. Tent, sleeping bag, portable stove, 3-week supply of freeze-dried meals that will definitely taste like cardboard, water purification unit, emergency beacon that I hopefully won't need, and 1 bottle of very expensive whiskey for when the stars are especially pretty. "It's all there," Rex said wearily. He stood at a careful distance, as if Marcus might explode at any moment. "As per our agreement." "Excellent." Marcus climbed into the shuttle and activated the systems. They hummed to life with the familiar startup sequence he knew by heart, because of course he'd designed the shuttle interface too. "Now about that patch. You're still going through with that?" "A deal's a deal." Marcus pulled up a data transfer screen. "I'm sending you a comprehensive system update. It'll fix all the issues I caused, restore normal function to your fleet, and give you back full control of your systems." The transfer completed. Freck checked his console and visibly relaxed as systems began reporting normal status. "However," Marcus continued, and Rex's relief evaporated, "the patch includes one special feature. A gift, like I said." "What kind of gift?" Rex's voice was suspicious. "Nothing dangerous. Just a little something to remember me by. You see, embedded in that patch is a monitoring subroutine. Not for tracking your location or reporting to authorities. Nothing that invasive." Marcus smiled. "It just randomly plays elevator music through your ship's speakers at unpredictable intervals." There was a long silence. "Elevator music," Rek repeated flatly. "Elevator music. Could be once a day. Could be 3 times an hour. Could be during a battle. Could be while you're sleeping. The algorithm is based on quantum fluctuations, so it's genuinely random. Even I don't know when it'll trigger." Marcus shrugged apologetically. "Think of it as a reminder to consider those legitimate career options we discussed." Gortha's eye twitched. "Can we remove it?" "Sure. Just completely reinstall your entire operating system from scratch. Should only take a few months and require manufacturer-level access codes that you definitely don't have." Marcus began closing the shuttle hatch. "Or you can live with occasional smooth jazz. Really, it could be worse. I considered polka." "You're insane," Rex said, but there was almost respect in his voice. "I'm retired and I want to go camping. You interrupted that. This is me being proportional." Marcus sealed the hatch, then opened the comm channel one last time. "Oh, and Captain? The monitoring subroutine also sends me a notification every time it plays music, so wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I'll know you're thinking of me. Have a great rest of your day." He cut the comm before Rek could respond and launch the shuttle. The razor claw grew smaller in his viewport as he set course for Proxima Station, which was now only 2 hours away thanks to the autopilot adventure. Marcus leaned back in the pilot's seat and pulled up his communication console. It was, as expected, flooded with messages. 47 missed calls from various pirate crews, 63 messages asking about system malfunctions, 12 angry voicemails that were probably very creative threats. There was also one message from his former assistant at Galactic Systems Integration. "Marcus, we're getting reports of widespread system issues across the Kralik sector. It's triggering every alert we have. Please tell me you didn't actually implement the dead man's protocol you kept threatening to build. Please tell me you're not actually that petty. Call me back." Marcus smiled and deleted the message. Some things were better left as mysteries. The shuttle's autopilot handled the approach to Proxima Station, while Marcus organized his camping gear and mentally prepared for his actual vacation. The station was a massive ring structure orbiting a gas giant, serving as a hub for tourism to the relatively unspoiled worlds in the system. As he waited for docking clearance, his console chimed. A single notification. Elevator music triggered. Razor Claw. Duration, 4 minutes 12 seconds. Marcus laughed out loud. Somewhere in space, Captain Vrek was listening to smooth jazz and regretting every life choice that had led to this moment. The docking procedure was smooth and professional. Station security barely glanced at his credentials. After all, who would suspect that a middle-aged human with camping gear had just held an entire pirate fleet hostage using nothing but superior knowledge of system architecture? Marcus made his way to the departure lounge for planetary shuttles, his gear floating behind him on a rental grav cart. The lounge was peaceful, filled with tourists and adventurers heading down to Vendara 3 for their own expeditions. He settled into a seat by the viewing window, watching the planet rotate slowly below. It was beautiful. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds. No cities visible from orbit because the world had been designated a nature preserve. Perfect. His console chimed again. Another elevator music notification. This one from a ship called the Iron Claw. Then another. The Blood Fang. Then 6 more in rapid succession. Marcus's smile widened. The algorithm was working beautifully. Somewhere out there, an entire pirate fleet was being serenaded by the finest elevator jazz human civilization had ever produced. A young Kralix couple sat down nearby, speaking in hushed tones about their honeymoon hiking trip. They looked happy, excited, completely unaware that their distant cousin species was currently experiencing a musical crisis of unprecedented proportions. Marcus's shuttle was called for boarding. He gathered his gear and joined the queue of passengers. As he waited, his console chimed one more time. He glanced at it. Elevator music triggered. Razor Claw. Duration, 7 minutes, 3 seconds. 7 minutes. The algorithm must have selected the extended jazz fusion version. That was the one with the saxophone solo. Marcus boarded the shuttle with the contented expression of someone who'd just achieved perfect karmic balance. He found his seat, secured his gear, and pulled out his whiskey bottle. Not to drink it yet. That was for the campsite under the stars, but just to hold it. A promise of relaxation to come. The shuttle pilot began her pre-flight announcement. Safety protocols, flight time, weather conditions at the landing site. All routine, all boring, all wonderful, because it meant he was finally getting back to his vacation. As the shuttle descended into atmosphere, Marcus watched the landscape grow larger below. Mountains, forests, rivers. No buildings, no infrastructure, no computer systems to maintain or pirates to outmaneuver. Just nature in all its indifferent glory. His console chimed steadily throughout the descent. The elevator music notifications kept coming. By the time they landed, 17 different ships had reported triggers. The algorithm was really hitting its stride. Marcus disembarked at the small planetary outpost. Nothing more than a ranger station and equipment rental facility. The air smelled like pine and ozone. Real air, not recycled station atmosphere. He took a deep breath and felt tension he hadn't realized he was carrying finally release. The ranger on duty, a friendly Terran woman named Rodriguez, checked his permits and gave him a map of the recommended trails. "You picked a good time," she said. "Weather should be clear for the next week. Just watch out for the crystal tooth bears. They're usually shy, but you never know." "I've got a bear-resistant sleeping bag," Marcus assured her. "Smart. Have a great trip." Marcus shouldered his pack and headed for the trailhead. The path wound through dense forest, sunlight filtering through alien leaves that were just similar enough to Earth vegetation to feel familiar, but different enough to remind him he was somewhere truly other. He hiked for 3 hours, putting distance between himself and civilization. His console kept chiming with elevator music notifications, but the frequency was decreasing as he moved out of signal range. Eventually, they would stop entirely. The pirate fleet would figure out how to live with their musical companion, or they would go through the months-long process of rebuilding their operating systems. Either way, not his problem anymore. Marcus reached a clearing with a spectacular view of the valley below. This was the spot. He set down his pack and began setting up camp with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this before, back when he was younger and had more time between contract deadlines. Tent up, sleeping bag rolled out, portable stove assembled, everything exactly where it should be. As the sun began to set, painting the alien sky in shades of purple and orange that Earth never quite managed, Marcus sat on a convenient rock, poured himself exactly 2 fingers of whiskey, and watched the stars come out. His console chimed one last time before losing signal completely. Razor claw again. The music had triggered during what the timestamp indicated was probably their dinner service. Marcus raised his glass to the sky. "To vacation," he said to nobody in particular, "and to elevator music. May it play forever in the hearts and ships of pirates everywhere." He took a sip. The whiskey was good. The view was better. The silence, broken only by natural sounds of an alien forest settling in for night, was perfect. Somewhere impossibly far above, Captain Vrek was probably screaming into a pillow while smooth jazz played in the background. Marcus smiled and took another sip. Retirement was going exactly as planned.